Hello, everybody, and welcome to season 2 of Black in America. If you are a new listener or watcher, welcome to the series. And if you've been with us from the beginning, welcome back. Family, last season I got the opportunity to speak with some of the most incredible Black artists, producers, and songwriters in the world. I know you've heard of some of them: Saweetie, Keydron Bryant, Shaka Khan, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and Rico Nasty. They were phenomenal. And guess what? This season, we're picking up right where we left off. From a MacArthur genius to one of the creators of the Philadelphia soul sound, and from the queen of bounce to a Black woman who has changed the pop punk band scene. We have an incredible mix of artists that you're going to love hearing from. Family, it is also worth noting that the conversation you are about to hear was recorded during the week of the George Floyd murder trial verdict. CeeLo's answers to many of my questions will always be evergreen for many Black people living in America, but are especially poignant during the week we had our conversation. Now let's kick off season 2 with the one and only CeeLo Green. I only have one question for you, family. Are you ready?
Hello, my name is CeeLo Green, and I am Black in America.
Given everything that has been going on this week, how have you been processing that, being blessed amidst this tough week with the trial, what took place with George Floyd? How are you? Talk to me about being blessed amidst all of that.
I think we function in a parallel universe of where there's the blessed feeling of fortunates and favor in our own personal lives, and then our collective lives. We still feel vulnerable and threatened and endangered, and so it's one of those circumstances that could most certainly create a post-traumatic stress disorder. You know what I mean? If you're not careful, if improperly managed, it could most certainly do that to you. And I think it becomes a task trying to not have survivor's remorse, if you will. And so with that platform and that disposition, like you're in a pivotal place of where you can look forward and look backwards, and carry some of that sense of urgency, some of that sense of a community and culture, and the reality that affects us all ultimately, whether immediately or ultimately. You can be, or someone like myself in a position like myself, you can be effective by using your voice and your platform, just bringing awareness to an already all too well known and all too familiar circumstance and vicious cycle of brutality, right. And indecency, inhumanity.
Yes. I love how you place that we can be blessed and still be in pain. We can be blessed and still, again, be in the struggle. And we can be blessed and still optimistic about the future while still disappointed with the present, right? I mean, this tension, is living in that tension, and how do we navigate it and see the blessing within what we're going through?
Absolutely, because the way that it's perceived is, there is no exception to the rule, whether it be George Floyd, Dante Wright, or whether it be the lieutenant, who was recently detained and disrespected, in such a way. And so I believe that that's the threat level when you have to try to come to terms with your own identity and hope that it counts for something, some good, some accomplishment, some ground that you gained, over a time of done diligence. And, I would like to believe that if I got pulled over, they would be able to recognize my face and make an exception for me. You know what I'm saying? But it's a hard pill to swallow, because looking at George Floyd or any of those brothers, any of those names, I'm like, that's still me. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's absolutely correct. And there is no exception. It should never have to be. No matter what our status, our background, we are deserving of being treated like human beings and given that decency and dignity. So I get it. I hear you.
Our experience in America is not a monolith. We're also thriving. We've also grown a great deal. We've also, need to acknowledge the fact that we've, contributed a great deal to culture, music, fashion, art, sports, etc. You know what I mean? So there is a balance, you know what I'm saying? Like, and there are different shades of blackness, you know what I mean? And different degrees of determination, you know what I mean? And so, I just want to be one of those better examples of something that you could aspire toward. You know what I mean? I would love to be a beacon of light, in the midst of that darkness for people. And, it's a life's work, you know what I mean? But the saga and the struggle continues. And so I have to acknowledge or tip my hat to you by creating this platform to address these social ills, but also inspire, and equalize with information and acknowledgement and accountability.
Thank you, CeeLo. I have been opening up these interviews with a really broad question, and I want to ask you the same question, CeeLo. What was it like for you growing up Black in America?
I'm born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I am the product of two Baptist ministers. Both my mother and father were ministers. So, we had that safe haven, that support system, always around community, always around love, praise, fellowship, music, family. You know what I'm saying? And I lived in a household full of family, grandmothers, aunties, cousins, and so on and so forth. Like a lot of Black kids grow up. I have had some very very profound moments of racism and mistreatment, in my younger life. And what makes them so significant is because it came from friends. There was, I used to live in Marietta, Georgia, which is predominantly white. And my mother being the driven, bless you, the driven woman that she was, it was her ambition to advance us, and give us access and exposure, to that level and that quality of life, So not even really sure how she did it. You know what I mean? I wish she was around. I have so many more questions I could ask her. You know what I mean? But too young, but still wise enough beyond my years to know that she was doing something pretty remarkable, to have us there. But, me being sociable, making friends and, fitting right in there. You know what I mean? Like I'm not shy, not shy at all. And I was unaware, at that time, I remember being in the third grade, and I was unaware that my Blackness differentiated me. You know what I'm saying? So because I wasn't treated like that initially, but this is the catch. I was friends with the younger brothers. I'll never forget Tommy and Jimmy. They were my next door neighbors, and they had a big brother named Jake. And this was around the time that breaking and Beat Street was out. So like it was this cultural explosion. And I think everybody saw each other in a different light around this time because Jake was an athlete. He was one of those kind of like a dumb jock type, but he could rap, he could freestyle, right? And I thought that was amazing. You know what I mean? So with that, I just remember the one time me being young and some of his older friends were over and he switched on me. Jake was so friendly and so loving to me as a neighbor, being friends with his younger brothers, but he showed out on me in front of his older friends. And we were all playing basketball, and he actually spit on me in front of everybody. A big hunk of mucus. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And I'll never forget. I was just like, but me being a kid and being unassuming, I knew that it was wrong, but I wasn't really thrown off for my entire day. Like, just in the moment I looked down at my jacket, I was like, well, God, I'm like, damn. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. I think whatever a child in the third grade is thinking at that time. And then I just took the jacket off, and I'll never forget. It was a Nike windbreaker. You remember those Nike windbreakers that you could fold up and it turns into a little bag? It had a little strap in it. It was that. So, I kind of, the think it was that nylon material. So the disgust more or less just kind of slid off with the jacket. I shook it off and folded up and made a bag, and I continued to play. But I didn't realize how profound that would be, the effect on me, to many years later. I'm just like, wow, that was so terrible. That was so disgusting. Like, why? And I mean, like, and and then I remember another incident. Then me and Tommy had an incident, and he called me a nigger. And so my mother holds my hand, and we go next door, and like blah 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 blah. And she asked the father, "Hey, so Tommy called Carlo a nigger," and the father's response was, "Well, are you?" And I was like, "Damn." Listen, we're going to bring it back around full circle, and that's how blessed and fortunate and favored that we are in America, that we can laugh at that shit now. It's laughable.
Come on.
Racism is so idiotic. I mean, it's like, come on, man. What are we, kids? What's your problem? You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
What's the real problem? And I just think, I think ultimately, there's systemic racism. I think that there is, I think that there's stereotype. I think there's assumption and presumption about us, the cultural indifferences and the things that we identify with as, or someone outside of your culture can identify with you as being Black in America, and the way we can, stereotype and profile someone else. And I don't think we have the best look. You know what I'm saying? Like, you feel me? I don't think that we're represented in all of our splendor, the full spectrum of being Black. I mean, like, and so therefore, it made me not only want to be Black in America, I'm saying, it made me want to be brighter than Black in America. It made me want to be another color. I wanted to be, I wanted to be clear. I wanted to be clear in America. Can you dig it? A clear stance and a clear statement of individuality, you know what I mean? Like, an exceptionality. Okay. And so I took it, on, and I wore it as a badge of honor, and a term of endearment, you know what I mean? And a vendetta, you know what I'm saying? And I have taken action, you know what I'm saying? Like, with an inclination stemming from those past experiences.
Absolutely. Wow. I mean, so much there that you just said, from how the friend switched up, and then how, again, the father normalized the language. I mean, aren't you? Like, what is the problem here? To you understanding and using that as fuel and saying, you know what, I'm going to be exceptional. I'm going to take all this negativity and transform. But I have a question. Looking back over your entire experience to this point, if you were to distill what it meant to be Black in America in one word, what would that word be for you?
Interesting.
All right. Very good. Unpack it for us. Interesting.
It's very interesting. It's
okay.
It's such a textured story. It's a novel. It's a novel.
I like that. Textured story, a novel. It's not simple at all. Yeah, I like that. And with that understanding, right, of it being textured, and it's a novel, and being dense, and it's heavy, it's a lot, right? When did your love for music start? Like, and what made you want to be an artist? How have you channeled that? It seems like you've channeled that in some way. So I want to get the backdrop and understanding. When did your love for music start? And like, how did you get involved in that?
Well, my love for music started as far back as I can remember being cognizant, and conscience awakened to vibration, so I go all the way back to, the origins of growing up in church, so that's the first music that you hear. That's the initial music that you hear. And I believe that that's the intent and point of music, is for praise. So the first music is gospel. You know what I mean? And that was my first introduction to music. So with that, and I think a very close second is the blues, because as you either ascend or as you descend, you know what I mean, like down to earth or born into the flesh, you know what I mean? Then you are there, and the obligatory nature to endure the element, I'm saying, like, and the living experience can give you the blues.
That's right.
And so that's why the blues is a secondary, is derivative of gospel, because like it's it's the reality. It's that the sobriety and the intoxication of the living experience. So the blues and moonshine go right together, right? So
yes, they do.
So a lot of, and so and shortly after that, because my father died when he was 2, so therefore the blues spoke to me really early, because not because of a sadness, but because of a signifying, and all of those many voices that became my surrogate fathers, the voices of B.B. King and Bobby Blue Bland and Johnny Taylor, Bobby Womack, and my first love, I believe was Jackie Wilson. So Jackie Wilson's Lonely Teardrops and Dogging Me Around, those were my songs. Basically I was A&R before I had any inkling, any formal understanding, because those are the records that spoke to me. Like, I didn't realize that those were singles. Those are his famed records, but his voice was angelic. And I think, affection, inflection, I think everything that lends itself to an understanding has a feminine quality to it. So there was a feminine quality to his voice. The way that I believe that there's a feminine quality to mine. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that, so that was my mother and my father. I heard in those songs, because it was sweet and romantic and sensitive, but also strong and serious. You know what I mean? As well. So it was many mixed emotions early on. And
I love that. That.
So those are my guys. Philip Bailey, Maurice White, James Brown, obviously.
Yep. And so what I gather from that is, again, your exposure to music, as you said, was the church first. And that was praise, right? And that was your introduction. That was your intro to music by the way of the Baptist church, in the form of praise, adoration, just jubilance, happy, excited about life. But then you said very much so connected to that, on the other side of that coin was the blues, man. Because at 2 years of age, I lost my daddy and life was kind of tough and crazy. But you found this comfort in the voices of these Black male artists that you started listing, and you found something there and the connection. And it was, again, almost like a cathartic experience of sorts, right? It's a way to release some of this pain and to talk about it. So that's beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. I remember I used to love this song called The Rainbow by Gene Chandler. Y'all guys got to go check that record out. You'll love that record.
The Rainbow. I got to check that out.
Gene Chandler. But then, so you lose a father, you start to come of age, and you start to rebel. So my third love was punk rock. Okay. And that makes sense. So I used to like TV shows like Sha Na Na. You guys remember that?
Okay, Sha Na Na. You go way back, CeeLo. I'm a little younger than that, but I got you.
And Danny, Dan in the band. I used to want to be Dirty Dan. I remember shows like Solid Gold and Dance Fever. I used to watch that stuff late night. And I a lot of my childhood, I grew up like the little girl in Poltergeist, just sitting in front of the TV all night, soaking up the culture. So, I remember the Plasmatics. Are you familiar with them?
Of
Michael,
course.
come on, you know the Plasmatics.
I said yes. They're just. I hear you. I'm with you.
Are you surprised? I'm referencing the fucking Plasmatics. Are you surprised? Are you impressed? Right?
We're impressed. We're impressed.
I'll never forget, man. Glenn. See, I know him by name. Glenn Campbell, Marilyn McCoo. You know what I'm saying? Those were the hosts of Solid Gold at that time, right? They would come on every night at 11:30 after the news. Yeah. You got to remember, I'm a kid. What am I even doing up that time of night? Right. I didn't have I was raised by. I was raised by television and music and the radio. Right. So, right. Queen's Radio Gaga speaks to that. Those lyrics speak to me. You know what I mean?
I love it.
But anyway, so
no, this is good. This is good.
Because you said she had a horn. I never forget. throughout the news, I said, man, stay tuned, stick around for Solid Gold. When performing guests, the Plasmatic is going to be on there. And she had a horn on her forehead. If you go Google it, you will see it.
Right.
And so I used to draw that. I didn't know what it was, but I ended up falling asleep. And it disappointed me for years because I never got a chance to see what wonderful creature that was going to be. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, it's stuff like that. But I'm basically naming these names to let you know that, like, I've never been bound by being black. I'm saying, like, you feel me? Like, I and I could even referencing Breaking, that movie. I remember the little boy, his name was Coco. He was a dancer, little Mexican kid, popping, they're locking in it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it didn't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously I wasn't racist, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
But those are the things that stimulated me. And, and I think those things are inherent in my universal appeal because I'm just all loving. It's right. All inclusive for me. You know what I mean? Like, right. I'm a loving soul, man. Like, I didn't even know how to return racism with racism or even hatred. I just thought that it was perplexing and bewildering. I just didn't understand it. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, damn, Jake, I'm cool, man. What are you doing? Right. And I'm so glad that I was mature enough to recognize. I'm like, oh man, like you showing up for the old dudes. Like, this ain't you. Right. And then, that even lets you know somebody who's of age can have an identity crisis or insecurity or be a fucking idiot. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Yep. So I'm sorry about that. Right. No, that's great. I want to make sure you get your questions in. So I'm just this is great. No, CeeLo, this is a conversation. And what you did was you took us on a wonderful journey to understand you as the musical artist that you are. Right. Yeah. I mean, you helped us understand that with this vast experience and diversity of influences that shaped the person that you are today. That's what this was about. And so that was great. So this was before rap music even existed, man. The first rap song I heard was Blondie's Rapture. Wow. So, you know what I'm saying? That was the first rap that I heard. Right. I was like, and I loved it. You know what I'm saying? I still love that record to this day. And I've had the opportunity to meet Debbie Harry, and I've gotten to meet all my idols, almost all of them, man. I love that. Again, what a blessing. What a blessing. Now, you have another person on your playlist. Let's get to your playlist now. One of the songs in your playlist is from the Godfather of Soul. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. Right? That's right. Why is this song? I think I can guess, but you tell us. Why did that song make this playlist? Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. Because there's so much strength in the word. And you have to imagine the time. And racism wasn't systemic then. It was outright and unapologetic. Right. But he, as that lone individual, just embodied such command, such a force of nature, so fearless. Even the way that he's depicted in the biopic, Get On Up. You know what I mean? Like, someone did a great job recounting for his life, and of course Chadwick did such a great job. God bless the dead. Phenomenal job. But I love that movie because it reminds me so much of me, and I really consider James Brown to be like a father. He's like a real literal godfather to me. Wow. You know what I mean? And too many. So you got to start from the top. You know what I mean? Like, James Brown, like, he's the alpha. Exactly. You start with him. You got to start with James Brown. I agree. And that makes sense. It was such a bold declaration, to your point. When James made that declaration through that song, it was a time, as you just put it, systemic racism existed, but overt racism was the order of the day. And so there was great risk for him, commercial risk, economic risk, personal risk, to proclaim that. And so it took a great amount of courage and strength. So I agree with you. Tremendous. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So tell me this, CeeLo, there's another song on here from a wonderful artist that you performed your song Fool for You with, V. Bozeman. And you have a song from her called Race Jones. Talk to me about how that made this particular playlist for Black in America, Race Jones. I wrote that song for V. Feels like my sister.
Okay.
And we never released that song formally. We just shot a visual for it and put it out there, you know. But it's really strong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's really strong in sentiment and in the sight of it. You know what I mean? If you've ever had the opportunity to see that visual. So I wanted to give some light to it. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
And I've had to more or less use espionage to get the information through. You know what I mean? Like, you know, filter that message through another vessel. You know, so I want to let people know just exactly what I'm about and what I'm committed to. You know what I mean? But then also introduce them to a high quality, you know, piece of art and music, and have it be appreciated as it should be.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's a beautiful, beautiful tune. Beautiful tune. You also added this powerful, strong, Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday on here. And this is an important song to Black folks and Black history, and clearly, sadly, connects to today. So talk to me, CeeLo. What does that song Strange Fruit mean to you?
Strange Fruit, the origin of the lyric and the analogy used is to reference the countless Black people in the rural South who were being hung for exhibitionism, you know? And yes, but anything that was done in that era was so brave and so mighty, and especially you know, the voice of a woman who was so regarded and so beloved. You know what I mean? I'm sure she inspired the future works of Nina Simone and artists like that. You know what I mean? You know, when women get angry, you know, you got yourself a revolution going on. You know what I mean?
I'm going to reframe it. I'm going to say that when women take the lead, we got some power. You know, when women, that's the key, right?
Absolutely.
They run. So I'll say this though. Yes, absolutely. I had the wonderful privilege, to your point, of interviewing Andra Day about this, and it was a wonderful depiction, Billie Holiday versus the United States, understanding, to your point you were saying, the great amount of courage that it took for her to continue to sing that song, right? I mean, they literally, the government, went after her for singing this song, her career, her livelihood. And unfortunately, you know, we saw the film and used her struggle with drugs against her because she kept singing this song in a way to speak truth to power.
Absolutely.
And so you're right. Amazing how courageous she was.
And what a beautiful sacrifice.
Hey, listen, it's incredible sacrifice. So you have another tune on here that I really like by the Jungle Brothers, Acknowledge Your Own History. How does history and reflecting on the past play a role, in your opinion, in understanding your experience as a Black creative in America? So how does that history inform and help you understand, CeeLo, your experience as being a Black creative in America?
I discovered the Jungle Brothers, you know, in the entire Native Tongue Collective, very early on, done by the forces of nature from where this song is referenced from. This album was my favorite album during that time period, because they were dealing with so much Afrocentricity, the imaging, the garb they wore. You know, it was refreshing, and it spoke to me. It ignited what would ultimately become my own activism, and you know, the acknowledgement of history. I remember my uncle Butch. He was the first one to ever say, you know, you had to make sure you recount, you know, for yourself, because history becomes his story. You know, you don't want to just, you know, be bound by his story, his recollection, his version of it. You know what I mean? Like, go and find what's been what's been hidden or kept from you. You know what I mean?
That's right.
You have to seek the knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, and that's biblical. You know,
That's
so
right.
therefore, technology or history, man, you have to see what's been done, what hasn't been. You know, like you know, to find the empathy, to find the inspiration, the motivation, the strength, the resilience, the endurance, you know, and the affinity for our own. You know what I mean? Like, and in that process, you know, as that thought becomes a thing, you know, like, and it manifests into action. You know what I mean? And
That's
you
right.
are continuing, you know, that plight and that fight. I mean, like, and that progressive forward motion. You know what I mean? Because there is no, you can reflect back. You know what I mean? But there is no going back. You know what I'm saying? There's
That's
only
right.
going forward. You know what I mean? Then you can get a better gauge on where we are in present time. You know, because it's like you look around now, and I'm almost like, damn. Look at how free we were at one point. Like, for example, I always think of this when I see this clip of an old Soul Train performance from a group called the Undisputed Truth, and they're doing a record called Boogie Bop Boogie, and they got these blonde Afro wigs on and these dope outfits, which would lend itself to a lot of the costuming that I use.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's, you know, it's about being as exceptional and original as the idea. I mean, like, you know, like about being a bright idea and a big idea. You know what I'm saying? You know, you have to shine bright and burn bright. But anyway, I think about that, and I think about George Clinton in the Parliament, you know what I mean, Funkadelics.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, look how free we were. This was like late 60s, early 70s, and on up, you know. And I'm like, how did we end up going back in the box? You know what I'm saying? Like, we were out. You know what I mean? Like, as George Clinton says, like, free your mind and your ass will follow. You know, so so to get a better gauge on where we are right now, you kind of have to be a reaccount for that. And you got to see the significance in it. You know what I mean? Like, if you can equate the action, you know, to the era of which it happened, then you can get a better sense of the significance in time.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so this time is significant as well because it's been revealed to me that with technology so advanced and so accessible, information. I mean, like, information is the truest equality we shall ever, you know, have. I mean, like, you know, so we have equality because information is accessible right at your fingertips. But there's no knowledge, that's not power. So you have to ask yourself, do you want the power? Because if you want the power, then you have to embrace and accept the responsibility. You know what I mean? And so it seems to me that we want the privilege and we want the participation of power, but we don't want the, you know, we don't want the weight of it. I'm saying, like, you know, because power is not just for one single solitary individual to have. True power delegates. True power empowers. You know what I'm saying? That's when you really got power, when you got enough power to give away and still have enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be a conduit. You know what I mean? Like, you know, for power. You know, and so what is that power? What should that power be aimed at? It should be redirected right back at your people who've been disenfranchised, you know, systematically and otherwise. You know what I mean? And not angrily, but assertively. You know what I mean? Like, not emotionally, but strategically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, this comfortably numb state of being, you know, shall be the demise. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, our ultimate demise. Like, we should be highly uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but I think they revised the Jim Crow laws and the Willie Lynch letters, you know, and I think they put a new clause in there to say, hey, what better way to, like, we figured out another alternative. Don't whip the slave, but overpay the slave. Make the slave rich, and you got yourself a deal.
It's the new hook, huh? Oh, that's interesting. And so you're saying, looking back at history, CeeLo, you're saying that it's important. Like this song was an acknowledgement of our history to understand the tools that were used and the ways in which we were used to be controlled. Not only that, but in ways in which we can improve to continue to move the agenda, the initiative of Black folks forward. And now there's a sense of responsibility with that understanding of how we're going to move in today's time. And so you're connecting the dots. I'm understanding what you're saying.
Absolutely, Dr. Maurice. Absolutely.
Yep. I hear you.
That's what I'm saying.
I heard. So you have one by Billy Paul, Am I Black Enough for You, right? Billy emphasizes, I got to stay black enough for you, right? How has your Blackness then, and what you're talking about, understanding your history, understanding that context, and now the weight of this responsibility, CeeLo, how has your Blackness influenced the way you navigate the music world?
I sure can't hide, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can't hide.
It's hard to be black quietly, ain't it? Like, I can't do it. Got to speak on it and stand up on it. I mean, got to do both.
That's it. So you got to just be bold. You might as well come on with it. And I got to speak up on it.
This is the thing, man. And remember, I know that we're having a specific conversation, but again, you going back to the earlier references, man, like I embrace it all. I mean, like, and I've looked at life through the lens of music, and then ultimately industry. Mm-hmm. And, hey, I've seen that there's a totem pole, you know what I mean? And capitalism is at the top of it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So people should know that the American infrastructure is spearheaded by capitalism. You know what I mean? So, so that means that more capitalists than they are racist. You know what I mean? So I would say the order would go capitalist, sexist, classist, then racist.
And so taking that into account, that's how you understand and navigate the music industry with that framework.
Yes.
Got it.
So with that, you know what I mean? Like in America, as far as free enterprise is concerned, oh man, it ain't just about, it becomes then about product, and it becomes about product placement. You know what I mean? So then you do another 180 and it comes back around to product. All right. Then you got to be concerned about quality. You know what I mean? And I think about the quality of character of music that inspired me in the 80s, whether it be Duran Duran, Culture Club, Billy Idol, Billy Joel. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
All of those records were big enough for Black people to sing along.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to shoot for those type of heights and accolades. You know what I mean?
I do get it. With that being said, CeeLo, talk to me, because you talked about capitalism, as you put at the top of the isms chart in your world, capitalism, sexism, and you went down the chart. So let me ask you about this song by Curtis Mayfield, who he's on your list. And we know Curtis was one of the most politically conscious artists of his day, right? And you had the song, We the People Who Are Darker Than Blue. So the question now that I want to pivot and ask you is, what is your view? You've been talking about capitalism, talking about the way of the world, government structure systems. What is your view, CeeLo, on inserting social commentary into your music, particularly as a Black musician?
Well, it's difficult because it's difficult to convey and connect, because songs about solutions don't necessarily sound good, and they tend to be very long songs, because it ain't no simple solution. You feel me?
Yeah.
So how can we counter the ADD that's being agitated? You know what I mean? Like, and instigated and propagated. You know what I mean? When we don't got time for nothing else. Like, we don't got time to think twice. You know what I mean? Like, everything is impulse and reactionary. And so therefore, you're going to get more negative outcome. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's also conditioned the mind now to where we only, that's the stimulus package, something negative, something, ridiculous, something downright, like, or what have you. It's like, because like positivity is too sobering. Like negativity is almost like an aphrodisiac. Like it's an intoxicant. Like, you feel me? It's like it's like a designer drug. So to speak.
Yes, CeeLo. That's actually very powerful that you put it that way. The number one, how do I fit this into a song? Because the solution is long, it's complicated, it's messy, it's not sexy. And so how do we get that to keep your attention to listen to it? How did Marvin Gaye do it though, right, CeeLo? Because he said what's going on, and that's a long song, right?
Well, yeah, it is. But that's the thing. You have to just involve yourself. Mm-hmm. You can't speak from a perspective of exemption. Like, like you might actually have to unbutton your shirt and show your scars. You know what I mean? And so
the personal connection, you got to personalize it. You can't. It's not abstract. It's not over there. It's not impacting them. It's not impacting them. It's me. It's my story. Right. You got to be willing to be vulnerable to open up in that way, right?
Absolutely. And when you're dealing with the subject, like people, it's almost like watching a movie. Like people identify with different characters in the movie. So if you're talking about the situation or the circumstance, and then you see Judas walk across the, like you almost be like, damn, that's me. I be acting like that. You know what I'm saying? You feel me?
Right.
I'm fucking Judas. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't Jesus. It's like, damn. You know what I mean? So, but, and then a lot of people play dumb too. Like a lot of these rappers, man, they play dumb too, man. Cause like they understand what the industry wants, but seemingly it's what the people want, because people want music and television. People want entertainment that justifies their own shortcoming.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And so with that, understanding that it takes a bit of an investment of oneself, right? If you're going to be honest and speak this truth of power and insert that, because basically you're saying, don't insert social commentary into your music unless it's personalized, unless you really believe in it and you're willing to actually be vulnerable about how it's impacting you.
Leave it alone, because, because there's a time and a place for everything. Like, like entertainment is just that. Like, it's not always meant to, mule some message or, or convey some type of, social conscience, like sentiment. But how can we evade it? Like, what I'm saying? Like, there's no way around it. Like, you're ignoring the fact. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think this, CeeLo, I think everyone has to show up in an authentic way to the table about these issues. And it may not be your way to show up through your music or to show up through protesting. I think we have to be okay with that. Everybody has to show up and engage in this work in a way that's most authentic and true to them. And I hear you. And that's not for everybody to do it the same way. And so I get it.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this.
So when Marvin was having that moment, just to answer your question, he was having that moment, like, and that now we can all reflect on other parts that were revealed, in an afterthought about Maurice's life. You realize he was in a lot of, actual pain, and anguish, at that
absolutely.
At odds with his own identity and family, at odds with his immortality, or mortality, if you will. So, so what's going on? It proposes a larger question. Like, what's going on in the world, but what's going on inside of me? There's a war inside of me as well. So, what's going on in the world was probably a deflection.
Interesting perspective on that. I hear you about.
But that can only be revealed after the fact. I'm saying, he was in pain, and I'm saying, like, he ultimately needed some sexual healing and had to say that out loud too. You know what I'm saying?
He needed that sexual healing, those Pentecostal background he had growing up. But talk to me about this. 2 songs on here, 2 amazing, powerful groups that I love. You have Shining Star, right? Mm-hmm. By Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's the most upbeat song on your list, right? And how does that represent Black joy? What made you put that on there? How do you try to invoke Black joy in your music. And then you had Ship Ahoy by the OJs,
Woo!
right? And I remember you calling your tour the Love Train Tour in 2016 after their song. So talk to me about those two groups and how those songs and why those songs made the playlist.
Okay, Shining Star lends itself to the universal perspective of humanity. You know what I mean? Like, and I do believe as Black and as exceptional and outspoken. I mean, like, as Black as Earth, Wind, and Fire was, it was still so. Music is universal. Like, I mean, like the music, the musicality was, the entire color spectrum. Like, I mean, like everything, but everything is born out of blackness. Everything is light. Light is born out of darkness. You know what I mean? Like, like everything begins with black. You know what I mean? Like, and then that's the irony of anything Black and everything Black. It could be everything and nothing at all. You know what I'm saying? You feel me?
Yeah.
So with that being said, Shining Star represented, you know what I mean, an upswing, you know what I mean, like, and a departure from, identity crisis, but with the aid and the assistance of harmony and melody. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? And these trusted individuals that had made you feel a sense of self on so many other songs. So by the time they get to Shining Star, you believe Maurice White when he say that. You know what I mean? He like, I know you tripping off me, but you're a shining star, no matter who you are, shining bright to see what you can truly be. Not even what you become yet, but what your potential. Your potential is shining. You know what I'm saying? Yes. All you got to do to be great is have great taste. You got to know it. You got to know I mean well. Listen to me, I'll help you. And I'm gonna be consistent too, because one song not gonna do it, as we established earlier. But keep on listening to me. You know what I mean? Like, you feel me? And anybody that extends from me, extends from this ideology, give them a listen too. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? And the more we succeed at this, the more you'll see it. You know what I mean? Like, as prevalent. You know what I mean? As viable in the marketplace. You know what I mean? Like, then you have bands that want to emulate, so the ideology of Earth, Wind, and Fire, because they was making the hit records too. Still got to be good. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? So you can't be conveniently Black, you know what I mean? Like, or situationally Black. You got to be continuously Black.
I get it. And then you slipped over to the OJ, Ship Ahoy. Talk to me.
So let me tell you about that song, man. My mother, she used to own a bridal store. It was called Elegant Bridal, one-stop bridal shop in Greenbrier Mall in Atlanta, Georgia.
All right.
Okay. So she would do wedding dresses, tuxedos, dye the shoes, get your programs, the limousine, catering, everything under one roof.
Right.
So with that, her dude, what's his name? I want to say his name was Eddie, but I might be wrong. I can't remember.
We're just gonna call him Eddie today. Eddie.
Yeah, old Eddie. His name might have been one of them soulful Black names like Charles. We're gonna call him Charles. I think I like Charles. Okay.
You like Charles, but call him Charles.
So Charles was the limousine driver. So he would come pick me up from school sometimes.
Yeah.
And I ride with him, on routes or whatever we was doing. So he was playing the OJs. And he's the first dude that let me smoke a joint with him.
Oh, Charles.
He told my mom too, like, he said, look, I never forget. I hit the joint. He said, it was so fine. I remember it in my heart. He said, it's going to make you wacky. So that's why it's such a sweet memory. But anyway, we playing the OJs, and that song comes on.
Yeah.
Because it takes so long. It's just like, it's so endearing,
Yeah.
Wow. All of those stuff. Then it start coming, it sounds just like the waves. Boom,
right.
Boom, 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 boom. And like, man, Eddie and Walter, boy, like, come on now.
Killer.
So that's one of the first experiences I had, the psychedelic experience of of herb influence and music. You know what I mean? And
I do know what you mean. Yes,
it
yes. It
just
was a
felt
different
so good.
experience
It was just
altogether.
like, it was so beautiful and so, that's a black song. Like, now, I try not to be too so-and-so, like, you know, but like,
Right.
that song is soulful and black. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and I just love the mix. You know what I mean? Just, it sounds so good. And maybe the system was good or whatever, but like, you know, back then they used to A/B those recordings, so you could turn the speaker to one side and the speaker to this side, you won't hear certain stuff, right?
Yes.
So certain things I could hear in the faint distance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so became aware of sonics and all these dynamics. You know what I mean? Like, it was almost like metaphysical. You know what I mean? Like listening.
Yes.
So the graphing, you know, I saw the Matrix. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the numbers, all that stuff started coming to life for me. Or with that song, Ships on Her. And I'm glad that it was a song about such a serious matter and such a bittersweet melody. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because when I was introduced to that other, you know, that higher vibration, the inclination, you know, it was a song of substance that took me there, you know?
Yep. It makes sense. I love it. Well, CeeLo, you have been great. You have been generous with your answers. I have one last question for you as we wrap up the interview. You've had a wonderful career, right? And you've had an impact in all forms of entertainment, even serving as a judge and coach on The Voice from 2011 to 2014. So then, as your last kind of, again, response to a question, what is it, the one thing you want us, the world of music and media, to walk away with knowing today from your episode with me? What do you want us to leave here knowing from CeeLo Green?
I come from a long line and lineage of leaders, speakers, and activists. James Brown will always be soul brother number one, but I'm soul brother number 100. and I'm gonna keep it 100 too.
102. I love it, brother. Well, that's the perfect way to drop the mic, CeeLo. You have been a joy and a pleasure. Yeah, just right there, man. You have been a joy and a pleasure to meet with today and have this conversation. And I thank you, man. You have a great day. All right, brother. Well, thank you so much.
Family, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Now remember, make sure to hit the follow button to get every episode in your Spotify library when they come out. Until next time, keep on trucking, baby.